this is what I look for. When I see a success, I'm looking for anything
to say that they didn't do it on their own?
Detain it, not the...
So civil complaint, simply allegations, need to be proven in a court of law, but if true, it could rise to the level of criminality, and, we'll see what happens or if the DA looks and investigates.
Beyoncé, the woman who has stood at the peak of pop culture for 2 decades, is reportedly breaking down behind closed doors. Insiders claim she is devastated, distraught, and openly crying after a stunning courtroom decision that few in the industry ever thought possible. Rymir Satterthwaite, the man who has spent years insisting that Jay-Z is his father, has allegedly achieved the unthinkable, a family court victory that awards him half of Jay-Z's fortune. Half. Not just a symbolic share, but a staggering division of the empire Sean Carter built across music, fashion, sports, and entertainment. And because so much of that wealth is intertwined with Beyoncé's own businesses, the ruling doesn't just hit him, it threatens her financial world too. Suddenly, the Carters, the golden couple of American music, are standing on the brink of collapse.
I don't have no felonies, I'm not crazy or none of that. It's like, I just want the truth, and it's so hard to get it from the courts. And it seems like Jay-Z don't want to say anything, so, I don't want to see him go down for something that, you could have just got taken care of. That's it.
Imagine the scene for a moment. Beyoncé, who has carefully cultivated the image of resilience and untouchable power, now feels trapped in the fallout of her husband's past. For years, she has forgiven whispers of betrayal, from public cheating confessions to the elevator fight that became legend. But this is different. We are not talking about rumors of flings or secret text messages. This is a legal ruling with teeth. A gavel has come down, and with it, decades of tightly controlled wealth may now belong to someone who Beyoncé never asked to be part of her life. Sources describe her as shattered and betrayed, realizing that Jay-Z's hidden past could destroy everything she fought for.
He took them to some apartment building, and they did what they did in there, talked a little bit, had a good time party, and I guess had, I can't fully talk as my mom because I'm not my mom. I'm just telling you guys what she told me. It was this, and I honestly just believe her. It's just no doubt.
What makes this all the more shocking is the David versus Goliath storyline playing out before our eyes. Rymir, once dismissed as a clout chaser, a young man from New Jersey without the armies of lawyers and industry muscle that Jay-Z commands, has somehow won. His late mother, Wanda, spent years begging courts to order a paternity test, insisting she had a relationship with Jay-Z in the early 1990s. Those attempts were brushed off, buried in sealed records, or thrown out on technicalities. Yet here we are, with Rymir positioned as the victor, pulling down not only recognition, but financial spoils that could cripple a billion-dollar dynasty. If this is true, it would be one of the most humiliating defeats Jay-Z has ever endured. It begs the question, how did this courtroom battle turn so disastrously against him? Jay-Z's lawyers have long portrayed Rymir's efforts as a decades-long campaign of harassment, painting him as a man obsessed with chasing fame through litigation. But in the eyes of this family court, that narrative didn't stick. Instead, the story of a son denied his father's acknowledgement carried more weight than the polished defenses of a superstar mogul. And while Jay-Z's team insists they will fight back, the ruling, for now, stands. The number attached half his wealth is breathtaking, and it immediately ripples beyond Jay-Z's personal fortune into the empire he built with Beyoncé.
Oh, no, that was it. No, when I get nervous, I tell the truth.
That is where the situation grows even more explosive. Beyoncé's fortune is not entirely separate from her husband's. Over the years, the Carters have merged businesses, co-owned properties, collaborated on music and touring ventures, and presented selves as an unshakable brand. Now that brand is bleeding. If Jay-Z's assets are slashed, if accounts are seized or holdings liquidated, Beyoncé's financial world gets dragged into the storm. And this is why whispers are growing louder. Beyoncé may be preparing to divorce him. Insiders close to the family claim she is consulting her legal team, exploring ways to separate her personal fortune, her Ivy Park fashion line, and her Parkwood entertainment company before the court's reach stretches into her accounts. To put it bluntly, she may have no choice but to cut Jay-Z loose if she wants to save herself.
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men.
That, of course, raises another brutal question. Does Beyoncé even want to stay? This ruling is not just about money. It has reopened wounds about Jay-Z's history, the shadows he never allowed light to touch. we cannot ignore that Rymir is not the first to claim a blood tie to him. Years before, a woman named Letitia Messer stepped forward insisting she was Jay-Z's daughter, backed by family members who claimed they witnessed the relationship that produced her. One of her relatives went so far as to write online, I know the story, from start to finish, I hooked your mother and father up years ago. There were even allegations that Jay-Z secretly bought her a home in Maryland and paid her bills in exchange for silence, forbidding her from displaying photos of him. If those whispers hold any truth, then Rymir's victory may be just the beginning of a devastating cascade. Think about the stakes. If one claimant has managed to bring Jay-Z to his knees, what happens when others see that success and take their shot? Could Messer follow with her own lawsuit demanding recognition or compensation? Could additional names emerge from his past? In an era where reputations crumble in days and legal systems move with surprising speed against celebrities, the idea of more alleged children surfacing isn't far-fetched. And with every new claim, Beyoncé's nightmare deepens. This is the woman who has built herself into an institution, a brand as powerful as Apple or Nike, and yet now she is reduced to tears over the cracks widening inside her marriage.
Jay-Z got his whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You gotta imagine, the feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your whooped.
Behind the scenes, there is frantic damage control. Jay-Z's circle insists Rymir's win is temporary, that higher courts will reverse it, that the empire is safe. But insiders whisper about closed-door meetings, accountants scrambling, and business partners suddenly nervous about joint ventures. No one wants to be tied to a crumbling dynasty. Remember, this isn't just about music. Jay-Z has his hands in sports management, streaming platforms, luxury brands, and real estate holdings across the country. If those assets are halved, if ownership shifts, the ripple effect will shake entire industries.
Weirdo. I don't give no what you got in your head, that Neuralink. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
And then there is Beyoncé, once the picture of unity, now reportedly planning her exit. Can anyone blame her? She has stood by Jay-Z through scandals before, including his very public admissions of unfaithfulness. But this is not a private matter. This is a courtroom headline splashed across tabloids worldwide, one that paints her husband as a man with hidden children and suppressed past relationships. Every step she takes now will be watched, judged, dissected. If she divorces him, critics will say she abandoned him in crisis. If she stays, they will say she sacrificed her fortune and her dignity to protect a man who deceived her. Adding fuel to this blaze are the whispers of more secret payouts. Industry veterans have long hinted that Jay-Z's fortune has quietly funded settlements to make potential scandals vanish. If true, those settlements might now be exposed in discovery processes, bringing names and stories into the public eye. Imagine the effect of not one, but several individuals stepping forward, each insisting they share blood with him. It's the stuff of dynasty-ending scandals, the kind that turns icons into cautionary tales.
At that time, I remember thinking, I can't be mad at her because that is what the media portrayed.
We are left staring at a marriage that was once branded as flawless power couple perfection, now under siege from forces that neither of them can fully control, and the question hanging in the air is almost unbearable. How much did Beyoncé know, and how long has she been preparing for this moment? For years, she presented Jay-Z as her partner in both business and life. But was there a private understanding that these shadows from his past might one day surface? Or is she only now realizing just how fragile her carefully built empire truly is?
Beyoncé for sure. I love her. I love Beyoncé. Jay-Z too, I really admire the both of them.
The tangled web of the Carter fortune is more fragile than most people realize. Roc Nation, the crown jewel of Jay-Z's empire, is tied to management contracts, publishing rights, and global touring deals that rely heavily on Beyoncé's star power. Ivy Park, once a promising fashion collaboration, is already rumored to be under financial strain after parting ways with Adidas. Real estate portfolios in Bel Air, New York, and the Hamptons are jointly held. Even their investments in art, tech startups, and streaming ventures are interlaced. If Rymir's ruling sticks, carving assets down the middle, the legal process could expose the entire Carter financial map. We have to wonder, has Beyoncé already placed her lawyers on high alert, drawing battle lines to protect what is hers?
I know so much on how you got where you are, how you stepped on many people.
Her legal strategy may reveal more than her words ever could. Insiders whisper that she has already begun restructuring holdings under Parkwood Entertainment, insulating revenue streams that Jay-Z cannot touch. If this is true, it would be a bold move, one that screams self-preservation. In the world of billion-dollar empires, Paper trails speak louder than marriage vows. A separation of finances often precedes a separation of lives, and the gossip mill is already buzzing about whether Beyoncé is quietly setting the stage for the most shocking divorce in modern music history. Imagine the headlines. The queen of R&B walking away, not for love lost, but for legacy saved. What makes this moment so gripping is the double life Beyoncé is rumored to have lived for years. Publicly, she has projected a serene, almost untouchable image. Never messy, never scandalous, always polished. Yet behind the curtain, she has been the fixer, the strategist, the one cleaning up the chaos left by her husband's indiscretions. We have seen glimpses of it in her music, hints of fury and betrayal laced into lyrics, but she never allowed the full storm to spill into interviews or press conferences. Now, though, this ruling drags her into the open. If half her fortune is suddenly vulnerable, she cannot remain silent. Does she break her silence with fire, taking control of the narrative? Or does she retreat further into mystery, leaving us all to guess?
Yes.
Beyonce.
Gorgeous. A stab to my self-esteem.
This emotional tightrope is cruel. On one side, Beyoncé is the wife, the mother, the woman blindsided by revelations that could humiliate anyone. On the other side, she is a corporation in herself, a global brand whose every move carries financial consequences. Fans are left asking, did she already know about these hidden claims and choose to endure them quietly? Or is she as blindsided as the rest of us? If she knew, her decision to stay raises new questions about the cost of loyalty. If she didn't, then the betrayal cuts even deeper, and her tears are those of a woman forced to confront her marriage as a business trap.
Beyonce and Jay-Z will do anything to destroy anyone who speaks out against them.
Meanwhile, Jay-Z's carefully polished image is collapsing. For years, he has portrayed himself as the ultimate hustler who turned street smarts into boardroom dominance, the family man who gave his children a better life than he ever had. He stood next to Beyoncé as proof that he had transcended his past. But with this ruling, the myth crumbles. Instead of a mogul in full control, we see a man cornered by ghosts from the 1990s, ghosts that refuse to be silenced. And if Rymir has won, what stops others from following the same path? Could Latasha Macer step forward again, emboldened by this precedent? Could still more names surface? Names that Jay-Z's inner circle has worked overtime to keep quiet. The ripple effect is brutal. Business partners hate instability, and Jay-Z's empire is built on partnerships. Streaming companies, sports agencies, brands, and luxury labels do not want to be entangled in messy litigation or public family drama. Already there are whispers that some partners are pausing negotiations, waiting to see if his empire survives the storm. A mogul without stability is not a mogul at all. If lawsuits pile up, if payouts drain resources, the Carter empire could be reduced to ashes within a few years. Imagine the irony. After decades of surviving rivalries, lawsuits, and even criminal charges in his early career, it may be his own bloodline, real or alleged, that finally topples him. Beyoncé's position in this chaos is impossible to envy. She is fiercely private. But this scandal may strip her of that privilege. When one half of a couple is ordered to give away fortunes, the other cannot hide behind silence forever. She may be forced into court appearances, forced into public statements, even forced to acknowledge rumors she spent years ignoring. Every word she says will be scrutinized, every silence interpreted as guilt or complicity. Does she defend him and risk dragging herself down? Or does she stand apart? A queen reclaiming her throne alone.
I hear that you're a big fan of Beyonce.
For years, Beyoncé's silence has been one of her most powerful weapons. Unlike many of her peers, she has rarely spoken publicly about private crises, choosing instead to let her art do the talking. That restraint has created an aura of control, a sense that nothing could shake her composure. When rumors swirled about Jay-Z's infidelity, she didn't sit down for interviews or release long statements. Instead, she unveiled Lemonade, an album that turned whispered humiliation into cultural triumph. It was proof that silence, when paired with carefully crafted storytelling, could be more devastating than any press conference. But this moment feels different. A courtroom ruling that threatens to drain half of her family's fortune is not a scandal that can be smoothed over with subtle symbolism or poetic lyrics alone. It reaches into her bank accounts, her companies, her children's inheritance. If she chooses silence once more, she risks looking powerless, trapped in a narrative she did not create. For the first time, there are serious questions about whether her old strategy of letting the music speak will be enough, or whether she will need to face the storm head-on.
What's up, what's up? This is Beyonce on the red carpet with one of the hottest female artists out here, Miss Aaliyah. How you doing, girl?
It's so good to see you.
The possibilities for her response are tantalizing. Some insiders speculate she could launch a documentary that exposes her side of the story, drawing back the curtain on a marriage the public has long mythologized. Such a project could redefine her image. shifting her from a passive victim of her husband's mistakes to an architect of her own survival. Others imagine her channeling the heartbreak into new music, something raw and unflinching that could eclipse even the impact of Lemonade. A carefully timed release could transform personal devastation into yet another career-defining moment. The stakes are immense. Beyoncé has always balanced the line between being an untouchable icon and a relatable woman, but leaning into vulnerability could tilt the balance in her favor. The public is hungry for authenticity, and in an era where transparency drives cultural relevance, her choice to speak could reinvigorate her career in ways unimaginable. If she seizes the moment, the scandal that threatens to ruin her could instead become the spark that cements her as more than an entertainer, an unbreakable force who turns even betrayal into fuel.
I can only say as a father that I hope I instill with them the values that they would want to look for in a man. And I think I did when Beyoncé wrote on her, I think it was her first album, maybe it was the second one, the song Daddy, that she hoped that she found someone just like her daddy.
Of course, the risk is equally great. By stepping into the spotlight of confession, she could open doors she has spent decades keeping closed. Every revelation invites scrutiny, and every omission will be dissected. Yet, history has shown that Beyoncé thrives in high-stakes reinventions. Whether through music, film, or a surprise announcement, she has the ability to reframe narratives that once seemed insurmountable. The only question left is whether she will once again wield silence as her shield, or shatter it to reclaim her story on her own terms. This is why fans are on edge. The Carters have long been the blueprint of modern celebrity power, partners in life, art, and commerce. But power couples do not last forever, and the cracks are visible. What we are witnessing may be more than just a scandal. It may be the dismantling of a dynasty, and with dynasties, once the illusion of perfection breaks, everything comes tumbling down. So we are left staring at an empire in ruins, a marriage under siege, and a woman caught between survival and loyalty. The only question now is, will Beyoncé cut ties to preserve her crown, or will she gamble her future trying to salvage a kingdom that may already be gone? Tell us what you think. Has the Carter reign finally reached its end? Until next time, stay watching, stay questioning, and stay ready for the truth they don't want us to see.